What if your IT service desk helped you put your customers first? It can happen when it's powered by the world's most trusted cloud platform. Industry leaders BMC Software and Salesforce.com offer the fastest growing IT service management solution in the market today, RemedyForce. Let's meet Sally. Last week, Sally requested an iPhone by logging a ticket using the hashtag request capability, found exclusively in RemedyForce. IT got a request, and Sally got her iPhone. All was good until her mobile email stopped working. No worries. Sally jumps on to the RemedyForce self-service portal, and before submitting a service request, she checks out the articles section and quickly finds a possible solution to her problem by resetting her phone. Sally finds easy-to-follow, step-by-step instructions on how to remove and reinsert her SIM card. In this case, resetting her iPhone didn't work, so Sally decides to get help from IT. She gives some information about her problem and submits the service ticket. It's instantly routed to a service desk agent. Now, as an agent, you can start to get more information about Sally's problem. You can quickly tell if there's a problem on a larger scale. Right away, you notice there's planned maintenance. And diving deeper, you see there's a problem associated with the server and email on mobile devices. It also looks like someone has already issued a request for change, so you check out the latest status. Good news! There's a rollout plan, a backup plan, and information about who approved the change. It looks like Sally's email will be back up and running in no time. That makes Sally happy, and you a hero. Email is just one of the many critical business services your customers rely on. And with RemedyForce, you can monitor the status of any business or IT service at a glance. Deployment is fast and easy with no hardware or software to manage. Upgrades are automatic, so you'll always be on the newest version with the latest features. And RemedyForce is accessible to customers anywhere, anytime, on any device. Keep your employees happy and your business thriving. Try RemedyForce today.
Hi, hello. Olá, bom dia. This is Rui Soares from Portugal. I'm here to talk about drawing for a change or two, and I hope you really enjoy this. I will right away go to the slide deck, but I'd like to dedicate this presentation to those that are gone in my heart. My uncle, to the English, Zemanel, who encouraged me to do so many drawings, and to Christine, too young to go. Thank you. Okay, without further delay, I will go and share my screen so you can see my slides, and soon we will see a little bit more on drawing for storytelling. Okay, just a second. There we go. Drawing for change. Well, not everyone knows how to draw, supposedly. That's wrong. Everyone learns how to write, at least I hope so. They have the chance for that in their lives. You can also learn how to draw. In this case, you can Google it, look for non-commercial images, and use it. So here we go. I'm Rui Soares. I come from Chile, Portugal. Now we're recovering from a difficult economic situation, and I do encourage you to visit if you have the chance in your lifetime, because it's a really beautiful country. And rest assured, I didn't harm any mushrooms whatsoever in order to produce this presentation. Okay, so what's up telling? We've been doing storytelling for thousands of years. And most of people do stories every day, every time of the day, whenever they try to sell or persuade someone else about something. So storytelling is about deep in your heart, telling things as they are, showing them, not explaining them. Example. For example, in Alice in Wonderland, you know that Griffin said, no, the adventure's first. Explanation takes a dreadful time. it is true. We read explanations. We are hardwired for stories. That's how life works. The power of stories. There are some great stories, like this one from a dad that had his little son to have a liver transplant. Game, and the guy did something extraordinary. They wrote him beautiful greetings cards and get well. They made a special purpose helmet just for him, and the kid just couldn't believe it. And I'm pretty sure the kid improved really faster because of this. This is a great story. There are lots of real stories that can help you to reframe and position the way you tell things to your friends, your family, your colleagues in work. Whenever you want to change, go to that link I posted there. So another great example of stories that are around every day. This one. Now, what's the problem with PowerPoint presentations? PowerPoint is okay. The problem are the bullets. Why? Well, your brain, my brain, it works in a rather interesting way. Whenever you see bullet points, facts, areas in your brain are working. The boring broth area and the where somewhere area. The first one is worried about controlling speech, and the last one is worried about our language processing parts, and it's not a rich experience actually. But when being told a story, something starts to happen. When I say to you, Eusebio, the great football player from Portugal, he just kicked the ball, so it made an goal. The part of your brain that controls motion, namely your legs, will show activity. It's amazing. Even though you're not moving, the part of your brain controls your legs. It has been activated. So if I say to you, I was doing your visual part of the brain, in the back of your brain, it will start to fire. That's only strawberries. Don't worry. So, as soon as we tell a story, as someone tells us a story, we start to live the story. If Pepe Le Pew goes around and that scent, you can't help it. Your olfactory part of the brain starts to activate. So the narrative activates also the brain, making your experience events of the story as if they were real. And that's the big difference when we are being fired with bullets in PowerPoint. So that's how things go. For example, when I was at Thailand, there is a national fruit. It's called durian. My wife and I went there 10 years ago or more, and the fruit is delicious, but my wife couldn't taste it. Why? Because it's horrible. Worse than that. It smells like onions, rotten onions. So it's forbidden almost in every place. It's so awful. So you see, tell a little story like this one. You have to situate your characters, describe the surroundings, give feelings, simulate the senses. You see the fruit there. It's pretty odd. So and you have to adapt it to your audience. Otherwise, it won't click. Many people have to change. So when do people change? People change every day, but not from nothing. They change from what they were. People change when the road is clear. When it's quite clear, quite obvious what the path is. They change when their heart wants it. This has to do with motivation. And they change when the situation changes. I changed long ago when I saw how much I weighted in my bathroom scale. I changed when I fall down and broke my collarbone and understood that life because I could have died. That's when you change, not when everything is normal and okay and you feel really nice and nothing bothers you. So that's why I recommend these 3 books: Switch from Van Heath, that talk only about change and how you can achieve it; Drive, which is really great regarding autonomy, regarding meaning, and regarding mastery, the 3 pillars from your motivation. And finally, the 1 of everyday things. The situation sometimes is the problem, not people. Okay. Well, so how do we enable change? How do we make sure people understand the road, feel it in their heart, and how do we make the right context so things change? Well, for one, we can clarify the road. I recommend using the Pixar pitch. The Pixar pitch, which has been popularized during their movies and written about by Dan Pink in his book To Sell Is Human, as a simple structure. The structure goes like this. It's a formula. It's not as easy as energy equals to mass versus speed, but it's quite a fairly one. It's a structure. It's simple and it's fun to use, and I recommend it. How does it go? You start with once upon a time, and you describe your context. Then every day you say how things normally go, the habit. And then the disruption. One day something odd happened. And then the consequences. Because of that, something happened. Because of that, even more things happen, until finally you have a conclusion. So this rather simple sequence is really interesting because it allows you to concentrate on only a few short sentences to tell your story. So it's just a template, but it's an effective one. We can see an example for the little Nemo story. Once upon a time, a little fish named Marlin was, and if you see what the story is, you can really, in a few bullets, not using bullets, but using the structure, you see that every day Marlin warned Nemo of ocean's dangers for not to swim far away, and so on. One day, Nemo did not do what his father told him, and so on. Because of that, he was captured, and you know the rest of this story. But as you know, it has an happy ending. This time, it has an happy ending. So this structure, with only a few sentences, allows you to capture the essence of the story, and that's the way to go. Because when you do this, people feel the story, live their story in that movie, in that sentences that you're portraying. So let's draw, come out here with the story. I said in the beginning of the session, drawing is favorite. My father says I've been drawing since I was 3, so I have some talent. You can always draw. You can during a workshop, you can make a circle just to point an issue, or use a lens like I saw in Denmark with Katja, a lens that shows a big problem that you have to tackle. You can also draw if you're someone cat. The advantage of drawing is that you're not using words. You're using visuals, and visuals are really good to make sure everyone is on the same level. Okay, how about drawing? For example, let's say for the Pixar pitch, drawing for change. First of all, if you people will become more interested. So with drawings, even if I use a lot of black and white drawings, if you use color, you will understand it quicker and will become more engaged. Okay, just so a little story, so you can get grasp the idea. Once upon a time, There were two mushrooms, mush in the left, room in the right. Those are clay mushrooms made by my middle daughter, my father, and they look really great. 3D mushrooms. Once upon a time, mushrooms were around and about with IT services. Every day, Mush kept asking for multiple things, every kind of request, and Room just couldn't handle it because there was no pattern. There was no way he could handle it. So things broke down. One day, he took all those requests. Because of that, he managed to work on those requests, what they really were, categorize them, prepare a catalog if you want. And he kept on refining it, asking for more requests, getting feedback from Mush and other annoying users because they were asking for things they didn't know that could be asked for. So Room did a catalog. That service catalog, we say catálogo de serviço in Portuguese, now presented a really clear way of asking for things from you. So Much could ask for whatever he wanted in a structured way. In this way, IT Room can have excellent customer service because he knows right away what things can. So, sorry, you get the rest of the story right now. IT rocks. IT rocks. What works is tell in a simple way with visuals, if possible, because it's more effective. Forget all those statistics that say that you remain 80% of what you see. It's not true. Those are bogus. But anyway, it's when you are being told the story and you actually do it, then you will learn. Okay. So how do we go about all this? How do we start? How do we jump start in telling stories, drawing stories? I love books, and there are lots of books in the wild for all these topics. So you can really imagine that it's hard to pinpoint some of them, but you can resort to really some classics. For example, the Mix Project. You probably have heard of it. It's a beautiful story, realistic story from IT perspective. It sounds a bit like The Goal from Goldratt, another great book on theory of constraints. But what matters here right now is that Phoenix Project is a story. So if you study it, if you read it, it's a really fast read. And you have lots of ideas on how to really tell a story that rings a bell for anyone listening. And of course, you can never go wrong if you go to the masters, the tellers, as they say about themselves. Effective Storytelling by Barry McWilliams is a really good summary in the internet, completely free. Also, the Storyteller Startup book from Margaret Reed MacDonald. She works at the library and she tells stories to kids, and it's a wonderful book. And it's full of little stories from everywhere in that can also start you up with this. There are a lot of books also. You can never go wrong if you search for comics from Europe, from US, from wherever that's closer to your culture. You can also check on Unfolding the Napkin by Dan Brown. It's a really good book, workbook. It goes through all those 6 humble men that served that Marcus writes, Rudyard Kipling, and who, why, where, when, what, how, why. you're ending with why in this methodology, the back of the napkin. And it's really a great resource, so you can understand a bit more on how to tell stories in a visual form. You start with who and what, and then you proceed until you get to the why. This is another strategy that you can use, so you can tell a story in a visual form. And of course, you can use my drawings too. They are Creative Commons. Everyone can use it. It's really wonderful to use them. They have been used for several purposes, and it's a joy whenever anyone uses them. So feel free. More. Well, there's lots more. Presentation and made it shorter, but we can work on more. I have a challenge for you, an invite to action. Take a story skeleton, the one I saw before, the Pixar story. Fill it up with your own new story. Never mind what it is. You want to lose weight, you want to change the way your service works. Second line produces your first line. The rest is you want them to write. You want people to answer the phone in a courteous and with the right attitude. You write your story. Just use that framework, that template from Pixar example. You'll see quite fast, and every time you use it, you'll get better and better as anything in your life. Just have a compelling story to share, because like Oscar Wilde said long ago, be yourself. Everybody, your story is unique and it is real, and it's only you can tell it, then people will listen to you, and they will for sure at least look while you're telling it, and it may make a difference. So I dare you, do that action. It's not so hard. Okay. Well, more. There is a lot more we can say and tell about this topic of storytelling, drawing for a change. I will show you a different example from my company. A colleague of mine has devised a way of drawing that facilitated the way people used a new approach to drawing processes. Here in TSM, we talk lots of times of processes, but most of the time it's not a thing, it's a people thing. It's useful that people really know how to understand processes. Otherwise, they don't recognize themselves doing what the process says, and they use it. That's really not good when you're consuming your time trying to make things better. So, for example, with BPMN, business process model annotation, it's not important now if you're aware of it. It comes from the business process management area. It's a visual notation. It's a standard. It's not technical, but it's different from the fluxograms or other ways that represent workflows. Basically, it has swim lanes where you can have different actors, different stakeholders take part of activities that are important for your organization. One way to represent this is to show it a bit like this. It's a nice notation, it's quite clear, but probably it's new for most of the people in your organization. And many times the process is not live or is not active only inside your IT organization. So not all people that know how to read this kind of things. So what can you do? Well, just a story. You just choose a story of everyday life. For example, your wake up. This one is particularly as my friend Carlos, he made it up. Probably or in US or Mexico, it's a bit different. But anyway, you have a sequence like Jean dressing up, breakfast, beauty. So whenever you do this, you're telling a story. you're not telling the facts, that's true, but you're giving people the chance to relate with the story, because they can be the person that's doing that stuff. So instead of showing them a process, first tell them how to use that new approach they were not aware of, and just go take a bath, dress, suit, so on. So use life, use examples from everyday. That's the way you can do it. That's the way I think people can change. When they understand what's at stake, whenever they can feel it, they can really think it's not something alien from other world, something they can do in every day, and they can start small. So give time to people so they can understand. So that's in my opinion, I think you can use stories, using drawings, using graphics, using every kind of stuff to make it work. Regarding drawing, it's true that when you tell a portrait, like some of the stories I told before, people live them. But if you use drawings, then your story will be enriched because it will hit other parts of your brain, like I said before. So do that instead of just pointing facts, instead of explaining it. Have people participating in your story. People at finding out what's missing, imagining what more is behind your story, what we say is sometimes the morals. So to use it's not by chance people like to go to the movies, or they like the series in TV, or they love reading a book, a romance. It's not by chance. We are hardwired since we were born for stories. So it's just a matter of choosing the right approach, picking a story that works in your organization, your family, in your life, because not all stories work in your environment. It depends on who you're working for. Obviously, so that works with kids, like Red Riding Hood, probably won't work in workplace unless you give it a twist. Okay, so do try it different. Okay, and that's it. I'll probably will draw a little bit while we're going on for the questions. It depends on what questions you have around. I hope there are questions. Do have. It's brilliant to have the TFT here, and being here, it's really fantastic. I work at White Sits, and I have some thanks to give. First of all, and foremost, to Chris Dancy. It would be impossible for me to talk here unless Chris Dancy invented and pushed this wonderful TFT phenomenon. Also, Test Institute for this opportunity. Platform, it's been perfect. You guys rock. Also, Rob England and Antonio Salas. These two guys are wonderful human people. They've been pushing me around for drawing stories. So, deep thank you, gracias, to both of you. And also to João Menino, who let me talk to the world right now, and Carlos Mel, who devised that approach to tell about BPMN. And it's a wonderful example. So this was my presentation. It's rather short. I have lots more to tell you about stories, but I think now it's time for some questions and time for some wonderful speakers like Simone, like Matt, like Ryan, Rob. You will have for the evening, and all those Mauricio, all those great speakers that are lined up for STI. And thank you for all those 32 people that took the time to vote on me. I couldn't have their images here, but thank you. Did it from my heart. It really means a lot for me. Okay, so now for the questions. I hope you have questions. Anyway, I can draw the answer. That would be nice. So we could have a bit of a drawing part instead of just me talking and talking. So please, I will stop this in a second. Just hold on. Okay. So I will stop sharing my presentation, my slides. You can access to them and all those ideas that I portrayed. You will have access to all of them. I will just check if there are any questions around it. There is a lot more than these stories I was talking to you about. You have a unique voice inside of you. It was not by chance that I used. It's not by chance that I used that phrase "be yourself." Everybody else is taken. Oscar Wilde is right. So please don't refrain yourself from telling your stories. It's important. We need stories of everybody that is alive. Otherwise, it won't work. I will check if there are questions. Just give me a second because sometimes there are some glitches. I'll just check in a second. There is a story inside of you. Don't let it die inside you. Just tell the story. Okay. I will wait a little bit more for your questions. I would rather have you ask me questions, so I will just tell you. I think from TFT. I hope soon we get the chance. This is just my alarm. Just get the chance to again. Please ask questions. We need them. Okay. This is the alien. Okay. So I will wait just a bit more for some of your questions. Just because you were wondering about the answers, about the questions, yes, the alien is around. Is almost there, so that's why room is as I still think that stories are more powerful when you use visuals. But first of all, you have to train how to draw, you have to grab the right image. There's plenty of resources in the internet. Nowadays, fortunately, we don't have an issue with that. So do the work. Okay, that's what we all are waiting for. Okay, I will put this here so you can. Okay, so do tell me. Don't be shy. Okay. Okay, I see some questions. It's longer to build a story. How do you manage it? Matt Alonso, he will be talking soon after Simon. It takes longer to build a story. How do you manage? Well, it's true. It takes longer to build a story. And that's why you have episodes. And I think it's really great because with episodes you can build up the anxiety, you get the mystery, and people become more adept of listening to you, and they wait for the next question or next episode, the next thing that happens. In an organization, in your life, things don't happen right away. They need time. It takes time. I think it takes time. So, in my opinion, to build a, you just grab facts from around you. You grab odd situations like the brilliant feedback that the customer gave, when he said, I really love the way that service person answered to me because she was really polite. You grab those golden examples and use that in your story. Because when you grab examples from real life, people will listen right away. So if I say, Tanya, she did answer a customer, all my colleagues will listen. Why? Because they know Tanya and they know that's her job. Okay, so that's how you use stories. Most of the stories are really short and can be written in the form that I told you with the Pixar pitch. There are other pitches. You can use Twitter. Twitter has only 140 characters, which means you have to be really short. I've been using it for some years now, and it really helps. It's a good conversation starter, but it imposes a limitation. So it's like using an A4 page. It imposes limitations, so use it. More. Here's another great question. This one is, did you start by doodling before drawing in meetings? This is a wonderful question. My friend Carlos, back at White Seas, he doodles in his meetings. Sometimes it's because he draws from his heart. No, but I did draw lots of doodles during school. Most of the time, no one noticed. That is cool. And that allowed me to progress with doodling. Doodling is really great. Doodling is like drawing small squares and doing stuff. Most of my life, the doodles I did were stuff like this. Okay, stuff like this. So, and I kept doodling it and doodling it and doodling it. And that frees you. Because when you do this, your hand starts to warm up. And so that's the way you doodle. Regarding those mushrooms, the first time I remember doodling those mushrooms, that's a beautiful story. My wife was having her second pregnancy from a falda, and I was waiting at a library nearby the hospital, and I wanted to draw something because I draw whenever I can. So what I did was I draw a little story, and that story had the two mushrooms, and one was saying to the other, don't be poisonous. Well, it's a stupid story, but it somehow allowed me to let out the stress because we had hard last week before the birth, but everything went well, and that's how stories go. So just doodle things. It's a great way to start. Okay. There is another question. Love drawing idea, really powerful. Do you always use it to get stories across? Also, what do you suggest for those of us that can't draw? Okay, this is from Howard Kendall. Great, Howard Kendall. Well, I don't always draw. Sometimes you cannot draw. Sometimes it's the first time you meet that person. Sometimes it's a new customer. Sometimes it's a new organization. Like in the last few weeks, I've been in an organization in the north of Portugal. And during interviews, I would use circles and squares to represent the person I was interviewing. But I was very careful not to using doodling or any kind of drawings that may distract the person, or otherwise tell her or that I was not listening to her. So you have to be very careful, not use drawings right away. You have to gain confidence so you can use drawings. Most of the time I use drawings and I start in a simple way. I try to depict what people are saying. It probably has happened to most of you guys. You're doing or a brainstorming session, and suddenly someone gets up and starts drawing in a whiteboard or in a flip chart. That's not by chance. That happens most of the time when you cannot transmit or when you're trying to understand something. Many people, like Colin Roth, for example, they are quite visual, so they use drawings. I use drawings too in that way. You have to give time to people to grasp the ideas. And when you draw, you're not writing it, you're not telling it yourself, so it's not directed. So it's not as aggressive as when you're talking to someone. And some people are shy, so it's really nice to have the opportunity to put it on a paper so people understand it in a smoother way. Okay, Howard Kendall, you also asked what do you suggest for those of us that can't draw? Well, I would say that do draw. My wife, for example, has a distinctive style. My kids have a distinctive style. My older kid has a really nice, odd style, but it's really distinctive. It's only my kid Ricardo could use that style. And I've seen wonderful drawings done by most of everybody that I have ever known. So do try to draw. Doodling is nice because it warms you up and you get used to it. You don't have to draw a masterpiece. Actually, if you don't draw that much, you'll probably keep it simple and you will do it with a few traces. That's good. That's nice. You don't have to be too complicated. For example, when I tried to draw the standard plus case characters for Rob England, because I wanted to understand what was a case and the standard, I used the simplest drawings I could, and most of the work I've done with ITSM is with simple drawings. My natural way of doing drawings it's not necessarily that simple, but it works. In the worst case scenario, you can always go to Google. You have options there that help you to look for non-commercial images. You can also go to Compfight. Compfight is another search engine for Creative Commons and other kinds of images that have a copyright. You can use them as long as you're not making money with it, as long as you're using it for yourself. And you can Google for images and look for quotes, look for cartoons. Cartoons are great because cartoons many times they say it all in one image, and I think it's really useful to have them like that. So it's not an excuse. If you don't know how to draw, just grab images. Search inside your organization, on your customer, along your friends, someone that can draw. Many people draw, and sometimes you don't know, but the person next to you draws. And whenever that happens, they have the chance to show their art, and it helps portray a clear image. Okay, I've been told that I'm almost at the end of my speaking slot, so I will just pick one last question and I will be off to give Simone her next presentation. Is storyteller better to talk with CXO managers, individual contributors, or all audiences? Okay, this was again from Matt Lorenzo. Well, in my opinion, storytelling works with everyone because we are hardwired since we were born for stories. I love telling stories to my kids. My kids love listening to stories. So everybody is a good fit for story. What happens is that sometimes it's too formal environment, and when you have a too formal environment, you have to be more careful with the kind of stories you can tell. Everyone likes a good joke. Everyone likes a good story regarding football or regarding everyday life, regarding traffic, regarding something that went wrong or something that was really great, regarding food or whatever. So there is always a connection point you can use to tell stories. So that's it. I will end my presentation. Do check the books I gave you, the pointers I gave you, and ask questions. Follow me. I'm Rumagoso, Rumagoso, and do enjoy the rest of your day. So that's it. I will be ending my session. Thank you again, and keep drawing for a change or two. That's all. Thank you, and see you soon. Até já.